Welcome to the Love, Sex, and Leadership podcast, where you can discover simple tantric teachings to embody your true power, awaken your soul's wisdom, and live an inspired life as a natural, intuitive, and heart-centered leader. So welcome everyone to Love, Sex, and Leadership. This is Kleinerman, and I'm very excited to have today's guest, Zarak Fatah. Who's a man I've known for many years. He's attended a men's retreat of mine years ago and opened up a beautiful friendship. And he's really a man with a mission. I spoke a couple of years back at a conference he was holding in Toronto, and we're always meeting and connecting in kind of different parts of the globe. And what I experienced with Zarak is a dedication to supporting people's capacity to grow, to really expanding into longevity, and to really helping people's human potential to their highest degree. And it's a joy to have you here on the show today. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you. Pleasure to see you and to join you for this conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So we're in a new year. It's 2026, yes. And what's exciting? What's new for you? What is firing up the inspiring fibers of your body and mind and heart and soul? Tell me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and when you asked me that question earlier, I had to really sit with that because I'm coming out of a 6-month, I don't even know what the word is, maybe a hiatus, let's say. Back in June of last year, I spent a week at Rhythmia in Costa Rica, participated in 4 back-to-back plant medicine ceremonies, and it rocked my world, really. As the medicine will, I thought I'd take a month off just to enjoy Costa Rica. 1 month ended up being 6 months, where I just really took a step back after having such a transformational experience, just asking myself, who am I? What do I stand for? And most importantly, who do I want to help and how? And I've just been sitting in that inquiry for the past 6 months. So, earlier when you asked me, how do you want to introduce me? I really had to think about, how do I want to now present myself to the world? And, to be honest, it's the same mission and same purpose, which is helping people to really reach their full potential, helping them to heal and integrate and tap into that next level of their being, whether that be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It is a journey that you and I are on, to constantly ask ourselves, where is there room to elevate, to transcend? And what's most alive for me is, I think, just realizing that, like many people, we start this personal development journey. We get deep into spirituality, into the medicine, into meditation, breathwork, whatever it may be, and it becomes our new narrative in life. We are always looking for a new way to heal, for something to fix. Where do I need to change, to upgrade? And while that's beautiful and it's necessary, it doesn't have to define who you are. And you can still live your life and enjoy, start that new company, ask that person out, do that thing you've been wanting to do. Don't wait until, I just got to do this and that and fix this and then I'll be ready. No, you're ready when you say yes and you step in. So for me, it's about recognizing, where have I been playing small because I'm not ready yet and there's something to fix. And then also, in my teachings, my coachings, my programs, yes, talking about the pain and the shadow work and all of the trauma from the past is important, but it doesn't have to define you. It's a part of your journey, because as you know, as you heal and as you overcome something, you peel back a layer, you realize, oh my God, there's all this other shit in here I need to work on too. So you're never going to be fully healed, and there's never going to be a time where you're, okay, I'm done with the work and now I'm ready. It is a process to integrate what you're learning throughout the process, to integrate what you're learning on a day-to-day basis and just continue to evolve. So now I'm taking a look at my coaching process, my retreats, my programs, and all that I offer, and I guess reformatting in a way to say, yes, you can do the personal development work, heal, while growing and expanding and optimizing your life. So that's what's alive and present for me. That's what I'm personally going through as well. And I feel that 2026 is going to be such a powerful year for so many. The year of the snake, the shedding, the releasing, the letting go is really, I think, what happened the last 6 months for me. And now it's like, okay, new perspective, let a bunch of that shit go. Now let's move forward with this new vision and direction.
Yeah, I love this. And really what I hear you sharing is the kind of rabbit hole a lot of people end up when they go on the healing journey. It's like everything becomes part of the healing, which is beautiful. It's great to have that mindset. I remember when I first was living in LA in my mid-20s and studying and doing my master's degree, and was just fully immersed in self-development. Everything was workshops and da da da. And then I would go back and visit family in Boston, and they'd be like, there's a life outside self-development. You know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But while you're in
And
it, while you're in it, you just don't realize that you've completely immersed yourself and you've almost disconnected from reality in a way.
yeah, and I'd love, obviously, it's something, more raw for you and kind of, shifting in your relationship and journey into something new. But where do you feel like from what you just have been through in these last, 6 to 9 months, where do you feel like you want to take that awareness, that learning, and applying it into day-to-day life? 'Cause this, to me, is where it gets interesting. It's like, where can we take the lessons that are there, not need to always be in a process shift, but actually apply it in a effective, proactive way that we still enjoy the gift of living?
Yeah. So I'm just in the process of overcoming a breakup. I was just
Mm,
with an amazing, incredible woman for 7 months. And, you know, this is something I've been preparing for many years, doing the work, healing the wounds, repairing my relationship with my mom, doing all of that. And we can do all the work on our own, but it's only when we're in relationship and you get triggered and the old patterns start to show up. And a lot of the work we've done kind of goes out the window in those moments. And you recognize, wow, I, even though I know it, even though I have it here intellectually, have I actually integrated it and embodied it so that
mm,
in those moments of trigger, in those moments of dissonance, I don't revert back to my old patterns, right?
mhm,
And this is
mhm.
why I say you can do all the training and have all the education, read all the books, but it isn't until you put it into practice. So if you're waiting to date that person when you feel that you're ready and you're healed, no, that's not going to happen. You're never going to be fully healed because that next relationship is going to show you what's what's still unresolved. So for me, I'm just taking this time to ask myself, okay, what is it that showed up in this past relationship that I need to go back to work on or dive deeper into, right?
Mhm.
Because I really saw this relationship as being with my life partner to start a family and really like go all in. But yet I'm realizing there's some old ways that were showing up that ultimately sabotage that. So, just looking at my own life, seeing like where is there room for me to grow and expand, and how can I share that experience with what I'm learning with others who may be experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, no, I love the vulnerability to share that as well. Also, the tenderness that shifts when inside a breakup and changes. And for me, it reminds me just the the importance that relationships are in our lives, and the gift that they bring to really help us remember who we really are, but not to identify us either. I see I think what happens sometimes, people in these relationships, is there's this enmeshment that can merge into to form. And what I'm hearing in you is a place to almost self-identify your essence, your nature, but to take what's yours and to move forward into a way that recognizes the necessity of continually learning. And what I also heard in that was a place that we can understand things intellectually, but when the cells in our body are still holding on to our past remembered fears and guilts and shames, then the decision making doesn't change. So where do you feel for yourself that you can either actively practice or support that proactive decision making from an embodied space? And what are some of the ways with your practices and ways of being that are supporting that new trajectory into this new year, beyond just the understanding, but actually into the embodied action?
Yeah, so where I'm noticing things could have shifted is really in radical honesty and letting go of the fear of what might happen if I speak the truth.
Mm,
what might happen if I'm just completely honest and say what needs to be said, even though I may risk losing that person. Can I just speak the truth? And this goes back to my attachment style and my relationship with my mom. You know, the fear of having love taken away, right? The fear of not being worthy and having to constantly provide value and prove myself in order to earn love. So it goes back to my own self-love practice of, can I love myself on my own, and whether or not she accepts me or rejects me, I will still love myself so I can speak my truth. I can be
Mm-hmm.
fully authentic and know that if what I share doesn't resonate or isn't aligned, I'm still going to be good and I still have love within me. So it comes back to me just realizing that I don't need to perform. I don't need to win someone else's love. I just need to be the most authentic, real version of myself and let that person love me for who I am with all my, you know, bumps, warts, and deficiencies, you know? And I think that's where often in relationship things go wrong right from the get-go is we are projecting this image, we are pretending to be this person, or just showing the facade of who we think they want us to be. But then 6, 7, 8 months into it, there starts to be cracks in the facade. And then that person starts to see the person behind it, and not to say that I was inauthentic and lying and I was faking to be someone, but any of those fragmentations or any of those discrepancies create a fragmentation in the trust. And once that happens, then the there's a the relationship is tainted, and then your partner, whether it be a male or female, is then going to sense something and will then be hyper vigilant to find out, is there something here that I need to know that isn't being shared, right? So I guess just going back to self-love, accepting myself for who I am, really letting go of the attachment and stepping into a relationship with full transparency and being authentic, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so easy to be said and sometimes challenging to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's in that moment you go back to that you're also an 8-year-old child and you don't know what to say. You know, you don't want love to be taken away, so you just contract, you go
Mm-hmm.
quiet, and that goes against all of what I teach about. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the somatics of our body is gives so much wisdom and knowledge when we're actually deeply listening, and also when we give ourselves permission to tune in to the intelligence that is inside, and that's not necessarily the education system that we're provided with. It's an education system that often gets pushed down upon, and I feel like our modern world is only going more towards a place of logic, reason, and understanding, and actually beyond the deep body wisdom that informs us how to be in relationship, how to have healthy relationships, how to be vulnerable enough to actually listen to ourselves and to recognize that love doesn't really need to go anywhere. It's always there.
absolutely. And going back to what you shared on the somatic level, listening to your body, regulating your nervous system, being able to bring that presence within so that you are attuned to those feelings and emotions when you are out of alignment. Because every time I wasn't fully honest with her, I
Mm-hmm.
felt it in my body and
Mm-hmm.
she felt it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
my words weren't aligning with my energy, and she could sense that. And even though I knew to say all the right things, there was an inner knowing that she had. And if I had tuned into my body, if I had been more present, if I had really connected to my authentic essence, I would have had the courage to just say what needed to be said,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of
Mm-hmm.
the outcome. So I think that listening to the body, feeling into what isn't aligned, and then regulating in whatever way you know how, and in whatever way it needs to happen.
Yeah, and I'd love to actually explore this even deeper because what I see happen a lot of times in relationships, there's a fear of speaking the truth because of fear of losing love.
Yes.
And, I remember in my last partnership before, my current partner who I now have a baby with, like I remember with her, I could feel in my body the part that didn't want to have children with her, that didn't want to take that path. But yet I noticed this part in my mind that knew the right things to say and communicate and to be the good partner and to be the good tantra man. But there was a discrepancy. There was a place in between that wasn't in alignment, and it was so difficult, but yet freeing to actually share what I needed to share, because then that the reality of our relating could actually fall away from what we thought it could be. And from that, I actually fell into a deeper partnership and relating where I'm at now. I'd love to connect these dots between like this connection to love and relationship and how it pertains to our, like, the longevity of our body. You know,
Sure.
you're a middle-aged man in good shape and taking care of yourself, and young and vital, and a lot of people aren't doing that. And where is this connection, and where do you feel like is the key for you in keeping that vitality? Because a lot of people want that, and they want to be able to have the relationships, they want it to be able to listen to the body and to attune to it. And where is both like your grace with that, the pieces that you bring in really well, and where are some of your own learning edges around that longevity piece?
Yeah, such a great question. So a big part of life longevity is identifying where am I feeling guilt and shame in my life?
Hmm.
Because guilt and shame are the lowest vibrational emotions. Guilt and shame is at the bottom of the spectrum. And if you're familiar with Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness, right down at the bottom, shame is the lowest frequency, because back in the tribal days, if you shamed the tribe and you got kicked out, that equated to death.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because without the tribe, some animal is going to eat you out there in the jungle. So understanding where you're harboring any of those low vibration emotions, and often it's on a subconscious level. It's something we did in a past relationship, someone we never apologized to. Maybe we had, screwed someone on a business deal. That guilt and shame, unless it's identified, felt, and processed, the energy, the frequency of those emotions lives in the body. And my belief is that's what makes us sick. I believe that cancer and many other diseases are essentially blocked energy in the body of a low vibration that is contaminating other parts of the body, right?
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
is cancer? Cancer are cells that have gone rogue. They've changed their frequency. And like a rotten strawberry in a basket, that one fruit will contaminate the entire bundle, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
part of the work that I do with my clients is help them to recognize in your relationships, in your finances, in your health, in your personal friendships, where are you feeling any guilt, shame, anger, frustration, resentment? Where can you bring your awareness to heal those situations so that you can transmute going from guilt to gratitude, from feeling shame to inspiration or joy? So a lot of people are doing the peptides, they're doing the keto diets, they're fasting, they're doing all the things to upgrade the hardware, right? However, just like this MacBook I'm using, I can have the newest hardware, the newest device, but if I'm running old software, that device is only going to perform to the level of the software. So when you upgrade the software, when you change your beliefs, when you fragment the hard drive and you get out the viruses and the old programs, and you're able to upgrade the software, the hardware will perform at higher levels. So
Hmm.
it's absolutely essential that if you are going to improve your health, if you want to live a longer life, you also have to do the inner work to clear out the emotional and the mental body, because we're so focused on the physical body, but there's the identity body, the emotional body, and the mental body. And that can only be worked on through doing your deep personal development work, through spirituality, through faith, whatever that may be. So that's why I take a real 360 and holistic approach to it, because look, a lot of people, they have trouble losing weight because their body's pumping out cortisol. They're so
Hmm.
stressed, or they're holding on to some real guilt, shame, or anger. So their body is storing that fat and they just can't seem to lose the weight. So there is a definite correlation between your emotional and energetic state and your physical well-being.
And what I, often hear in this world of longevity is this, phrase of biohacking, biohacking this and biohacking that. And I relate so much to what you're sharing, because that's, so much the core of how I'm working with people and showing up in this way. And it almost seems like so much of the world of medicine and biohacking misses this key core principle.
Yeah.
That actually to live a long life means a life where we're free of all of these layers of shame and fear and guilt and all of our, baggage, emotional baggage. So where is the emotional biohacking? Why isn't that there? Tell me.
Yeah, because people want the shortcut. People want to take the peptides or the TRT. They want that quick, fast solution, and you'll get some results for sure. But if you really want to optimize and get not just short-term results, but lifelong benefits, then you've got to do the inner work. And why do people not want to do the inner work? Because it's hard. It's hard, and it will get more difficult before it gets easier, because for most people, when they do begin this journey of personal development or spirituality, they have to face the things that they've been pushing down for 30, 40, 50 years. And for most people, they'd rather ignore it until they can't anymore. That's why most people, they have their awakening when the doctor tells them they have stage 3 cancer. Or they start to really question and ask themselves those existential questions when they face a major crisis in life, a relationship is ending, a business fails. However, we have to understand that whatever we're suppressing and neglecting will ultimately show up in physical form. In the body, in the book, The Body Keeps the Score, it clearly explains that if we are not resolving what's pushed down, it will ultimately show up in a way that we can't ignore it. So I feel that people are now starting to include breath work, mindfulness, even plant medicine into these life longevity practices, right? A lot of these retreats now are offering the full range of wellness modalities, but also now the deep inner work. And I think that's really important. I think the intersection of life longevity and spirituality are now becoming intertwined. And I don't like to use the term biohacking, because yes, there are certain things that you do to hack your biology, but hacks are like short-term solutions. The term life longevity to me is more relevant, because that is what we're looking to do. We're looking to increase our lifespan. We're looking to increase our health span. And it's through longevity practices that are a long-term commitment that you can achieve that. Like, I know I'm going to live to 120 minimum. And Andrew Huberman has said that we are going to be the first generation that actually gets to choose how long we want to live. Brian Johnson has got his rate of aging down to 0.6 per year. And this is in 2026. Imagine in 2040, people will be able to get their rate of aging down to probably 0.2, maybe 0.1 per year, which means people just won't be getting older. So I think that there are people who are going to choose to do the inner work along with the life longevity modalities, and they're going to live a long, healthy life. And then there are those that are just going to go for the biohacking shortcuts. They're going to get some short-term results, but then ultimately those suppressed issues are going to show up again. So I think we're going to see a real shift in the next few years, because with all that's changing in the world right now, this mass global awakening and expansion of human consciousness that's taking place is definitely bringing spirituality and healing and the sacred medicine work into the forefront. And I think we're going to see a massive shift happening, and I'm excited. I know that's why you and I and many of our other brothers and sisters chose to be here right now.
Absolutely. Is two topics I'd love to dive into deeper. And one, I know you've worked a lot with men. I've worked a lot with men. And especially for you could say the 40 to 50-year-old man that, is very resistant. And, probably a bit of what you're speaking about before, resist, and then suddenly realizes has cancer, has too much stress. Like, I'd love to hear your perspective on like why men need to fall on their face like over and over and over again before they actually have a level of willingness, and what really can be the key. Because obviously the guys that we connect with, like for them to even show up at a retreat or seek out, one-to-one coaching or counseling, like there's already a willingness, and most of them have fallen on their ass at some point. But the vast majority, there's such a resistance to actually looking themselves in the mirror and having a willingness to grow. And I mean, I have some of my own perspectives on this, but I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, you've been working with men for a while, and they're quite stubborn. And I know my own stubbornness, and I can see it in other men. So, what is it about that, and like where can that change actually evolve into?
So many men are resistant to doing the inner work because they're scared to feel.
Hmm.
They're scared to cry. They're scared to revisit that old pain from the past because they don't even know how to approach it. Yes, so men are resistant to doing the work, even though they may be spiritually curious, because they don't want to be seen being vulnerable. They don't want to cry, especially in front of other men, because many of us are brought up being told, don't be a pussy, don't cry, nobody wants to hear your problems, just tough it out, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they don't even know how to connect to their emotions. They don't know how to express themselves. They don't feel safe to do so because they were never shown that from their parents. They never saw that modeled from their father. A lot of the men I work with are in their 40s and 50s, and they grew up with parents who came from, overseas, and they grew up with fathers who never spoke to them, who never asked them about their feelings. They just never felt safe to open up and share. And a lot of men at that middle age point, they're realizing, okay, I went to school, I got good grades, got a great job, made money, got married, had kids, own a nice house. I have all the things that are supposed to make me happy, but I'm not. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, and they don't know what to do with that. So what do? Start drinking, drugs, cheating, gambling. They start exploring vices to help numb the pain. And this is why I said earlier that often it has to be some catastrophic event that disrupts their life that they take a step back and realize, I can't go on like this. I'm either going to lose my marriage, lose my business, or lose my life. And and unfortunately, it has to get to that point where someone really chooses to do this work with full commitment, because it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. You're going to have to face some heavy, dark shit to get to the other side. But it's the best work that a man could ever choose to do, because when we do that inner work and we elevate our our consciousness, when we become a better leader for our wife, our kids, for our community, that is when we tap into our true purpose in life. And that's when everything just becomes so much richer and more fulfilling. And that is the mission that I'm committed to, just helping men to realize that it's safe and it's okay to talk about your feelings, to cry, to yell, to scream, whatever you need to do. As I've done on your retreat, as have invited us all to do, is just to really look at ourselves with love and compassion and feel safe to share in front of other brothers. And that's one of the biggest breakthrough experiences I had at your men's initiation retreat, was allowing myself to be seen in front of other men and allow them to hold space for me. Because being bullied and getting picked on as a young child by other boys, not getting picked to play on sports teams, not feeling included, I was very resistant to opening up and sharing in front of men. And your retreat and that experience really helped me to open up and let go of that old story that I had been carrying for 40 plus years. And through that work, I'm now able to hold space for other men as they share and open up and allow themselves to be vulnerable. So I feel that men's work now is becoming more accepted. I also feel that there's many different ways to do the work now. You don't have to go to some kumbaya retreat or drink ayahuasca in the jungle. There are men's groups that are happening in every city. There are different ways to do personal development. It doesn't have to be all like yoga and kundalini and breath work and trauma, shadow work and all that. There's many different ways you can dive deep within yourself. And yeah, you're going to cry, and yeah, you're going to face some darkness. But on the other side of that is your life at a whole new level. And that is what I see happening in many communities now, and it's what the world needs, because there's a lot of hurt little boys and older male bodies that are making very poor choices for the planet, rooted in pain, shame, guilt, and suffering. And I believe that when the masculine really creates that balance within himself, allowing himself to be seen and heard and healed, we're going to see a massive shift on the planet, because the feminine then will feel more safe to be in her divine flow and essence. And that balance of the masculine and feminine is what is truly going to create heaven on earth.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, one of the pieces I'd love to explore more around this place of men waking up is, around the subject as well as of the myth of healing. I see a lot of men who come into this field of healing, and then they end up sitting with, ayahuasca every weekend and doing mushroom ceremonies, every other day. And it's beautiful and expansive, and you're connecting to the divine, you're connecting to these other, parts, and doing healing work. And now even there's so much more, almost medicinal places where people can have therapeutic enhanced, medicine journeys. And I think it's beautiful. And I'd love to hear your perspectives on the connecting this dot between where I see men who are going to do the work. And I know you've done a fair amount of plant medicine. Sounds like you had a pretty big journey last year that kind of cracked you open. But where is this line between when plant medicine becomes just another addictive thing that people are doing, and where it's actually a powerful modality that's making a tangible, integrative change in someone's life? This is a line I'm always kind of observing and seeing. And I've had potent plant medicine journeys that have really cracked me. And I've also come to a point in my own life where I generally say no at this point to invitations, just because it's not in resonance in my body. I don't have anything against plant medicine. I'm quite grateful for the deep moments it's opened me. And I know it sounds like the same for you, but I'd love to hear your perspective on this dance of where plant medicine's beneficial, where those especially male bodies who are almost addicted to the healing nature of it, and where can the change or the shift, where's the healthy relationship with it moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, very important topic, because I see this happening a lot after living in Costa Rica for 5 years and spending time in Tulum. I feel that people are using plant medicine to escape. Yes, of course, it provides massive insights and a breakthrough, and can bring things into consciousness that you were completely oblivious to. And that's really, really important. However, what do you now do with that information? How do you reflect on that, integrate it, and embody the lessons from what the medicine's shown you? Because if you're getting blasted on ayahuasca or psilocybin, bufo, whatever your medicine of choice is, back to back, without giving time to integrate, then you're not really honoring the gift of the medicine, which is to prepare for it with integrity, to go into the ceremony with reverence, and to allow yourself the time after the journey to let the medicine continue to do the work. Because even though you may do 2 or 3 days of medicine, it is in you for weeks and sometimes months afterwards. And if you keep doing the medicine back to back, you're still searching. You're still searching, you're still escaping, and you may even be numbing yourself from going deeper, because it's in the reflection and it's in what you discover that really provides the gold. And sometimes you have to go deeper and darker to really see what's in there. And that's why after my week at Rhythmia, I basically took months off just to integrate. And I had only gone to arrhythmia after taking a break from ayahuasca for about 3 years.
Mm,
And I don't know that I will ever do ayahuasca again because it gave me something so profound that I will have to integrate and process that for the next few years. And plant medicine is changing the world and it's healing people in a very important way. But the medicine needs to be honored and
mm,
you need to use it with respect and integrity because otherwise you're just trading one vice, whether it be marijuana or alcohol or cocaine, for another vice. And
mhm,
that
mhm,
obviously doesn't make sense and
mhm.
isn't going to produce the outcome you want, which is the awakening, the awareness, the elevated state of consciousness and healing.
Yeah, yeah, and the recognition of the medicine coming in the body and actually finding the medicine of our own body itself without the external influence. That's a big piece I'm always trying to share, especially I find for male bodies that love the chasing of the high for something that feels like something external. And what I heard you sharing earlier that I'm also quite devoted to is this awakening of the feminine. And really that awakening of the feminine comes in knowing also the feminine in these male bodies as well. And yeah, I'd love to hear some of your own perspective on that because I know you're not only working with male bodies but also female bodies, and how do you feel like your own integrative journey with, you could say the more feminine energy, how does that show up? How does that look in your own healing journey with longevity, with, directionality, with penetration, as well as receptivity? How does that show up for you in your life?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I started off coaching both men and women back in 2020, but then I gravitated more towards working with men because I just felt more comfortable with men because I could hold space for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
On a call or having a session with a woman where she starts to cry, I I couldn't hold space for that. I myself felt uncomfortable and I recognized, okay, there's something within me that I need to work on. I need to clear
mm,
in order to support women in their full expression. And that tied into a deep journey with me healing my relationship with my mom and going down a path of discovering things about myself and my childhood that really have brought my mom and I so much closer together. And I
mm,
feel that in healing my relationship with my mom, I've been able to call in and meet some amazing women and meet them in their feminine. And in these different friendships and relationships, what I'm discovering is that women have really felt unsafe for so long. Women do not trust men. Women feel very guarded and are scared to open up and share. And there is definitely an imbalance in how many women are in the work versus men. And listening to what women need and being able to share that with my male clients who are married or men who are looking to be in a relationship or get into this work, I'm able to share the perspective that women feel safe to open up and tell me about. And that's been really, really helpful because then I could also reciprocate and let these women know how men are feeling and also why men do this. I don't want to say stupid things we do, but as men, we are unconscious, we are ignorant, we are unintentional at times, and not always in a malicious way, but in a way that we just don't know any better. As I
mm-hmm,
reflect on my past relationship and I can see the mistakes I made, it was just my 8-year-old child who didn't feel safe telling the truth, who didn't want love taken away, that was showing up. And I
mm-hmm,
think women, they can choose to have compassion for men, understanding that we are really just trying to catch up to where they are.
mm,
We are still learning how to express ourselves, how to open up and feel safe, to be vulnerable. And I think that going back to what's happening on the planet right now, I think we're going to see a major shift in consciousness and the masculine and feminine balance. And to all the women listening, I will say that know that we are trying and know that there are men that are waking up and willing to do the work. And please be patient. Please be compassionate. Please be open and understanding, knowing that we are just learning how to speak about our feelings. And we need to be encouraged and we need to be supported and not be criticized for it, because we are just trying to catch up to the feminine. We are learning how to open up and connect to our emotions and put words to that. So we are trying. There's a lot of amazing men out there doing the work, and just the feminine is the key to us elevating ourselves. So I ask that the women just have compassion and patience and grace for us as we try to become better men.
For sure, for sure. Oh, I love that. Thank you. I was just working, one of the couples I'm working with, and we were in a session the other day, and they're in this journey of bringing a child into the world, and I basically turned to her in a communication of like, you bringing a child into this man's life is the greatest gift that can ever be there, and like your capacity to actually receive the love that wants to exude from this man's heart is part of that. Because and I felt this with my own partner, like just an hour before this call, just holding my son in my arms and just seeing the joy in his
Yes,
smile, and
so happy.
feeling that feeling that love is just it's and that's a gift that's I don't have in this male body, and just to be able to show up in such reverence and honoring and appreciation for this gift of life that comes through the feminine and female body is a remarkable part of being human, and deeply grateful for that.
Yeah, and congratulations again. I remember when you shared the news with me in Tulum last year.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned one of the first people that you told as we were laying down at the beach there. And wow, just to watch your journey of meeting your beloved, completing your home in Bali, having your son, it's very inspiring, I have to say.
Hmm.
I aspire to follow your trajectory, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of it's been a lot of humbleness and humility this year, that's for sure. Just especially with the fires taking out our place in Portugal, and just the feminine in of itself, and I think to connect the dots to this whole conversation around healing, I feel, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts with this too, like healing can become a like place of to do step A plus B plus C to get sort of into the feminine, and being in deep letting go to the mystery of life itself. And where does mystery meet the science? Where does mystery meet the science of our longevity, of our healing, and of our place that can show up with our plan and our action and our to-do list, and we're going to do this, and actually to surrender and to say, I don't have any fucking idea.
Yeah,
There's a mystery in your life.
yeah. Yeah, lately I've been diving deeper into understanding the concept of manifestation. What does that
Mm,
actually? Um, how does the quantum field respond to us? What can we do to increase our clarity in our message to God or Buddha or Allah, whoever it is that you pray to, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
what's interesting that's happening now is people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, uh, people who are able to actually quantify and put some metrics and data to the quantum field, to our emotions. The process of manifestation is now being explained in a scientific way as people are realizing that consciousness is a real tangible thing, and that our
mhm,
conscious awareness has the ability to affect energy waves. And going back to what I said before, this time that we're living in, we are going to see the mystical and the esoteric be validated, and
mm,
there be actual hard proof that yes, we are not just these human skin suits. We are a sliver of God consciousness embodied in this human form, but we are so much more than a human. And when we as humans begin to understand that when we elevate our consciousness and we raise our frequency, we have the ability to truly manifest whatever we desire. But in order to send that clear message to source, that request, that affirmation, that meditation, or guide, whatever it is you're asking for, we have to clear the distortion in our energetic bodies. And I believe that in our lifetime, we will see a massive breakthrough in human consciousness. And, you know, again, I'm not religious. I don't consider myself a Christian. However, there's been this talk of second coming of Christ, you know, and that he's coming back. And what I believe that to be true in my own interpretation is that it is the return of Christ consciousness. It is human beings choosing to live in alignment with what Christ spoke about. Now, regardless of what religion you are, and again, my father's Muslim, my mom was raised Catholic. I never attended a mosque or a church. So this isn't some religious dogma that I'm sharing here. It's just more so what I'm learning through there's books by an author named Kim Michaels, and he breaks down in such a pragmatic and comprehensive way that we are these beings that have the ability to elevate our frequency through doing the inner work. We expand our consciousness and we are able to tap into those higher frequencies. We then have the ability to, as Jesus said, you can do what I can do and greater. So I believe that Christ consciousness is where humanity is hopefully moving to in the direction, you know, during our lifetime. We'll see that where we overcome a lot of these things in our life that cause guilt and shame and anger and division and hatred and all of that. You know, I believe that we're going to see a shift in humanity, and during our lifetime, if we all keep doing our work and we all keep meditating and doing all the inner modalities, you know, we will get to a place where we create utopia, we create heaven on earth by, you know, elevating our consciousness. So I think right now, with all that is being revealed and all that is coming to light, and the science that is now proving the data of spirituality isn't just some woo esoteric thing, it's real. I think there's going to be some major breakthroughs that are going to be that are going to be happening in the coming years.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that, and I think also astrologically that seems to be in alignment too with the changes and the shifts and the awakening that's happening. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, brother, for this depth of conversation. And those who are listening who aren't familiar with your work or what you're doing, where's the best place that they can find them, or what do you have coming up that you'd love to share?
Yeah, so Instagram or my website, which is just my name, Zarak Fatah. That's where I share my different workshops or events, or retreats. This year, I'll be launching some digital products and courses for people who are, you know, curious about optimizing their life, elevating their relationships, their health, and yeah, just check that out. You can sign up for my email newsletter to keep in touch, to know what I got going on. But yeah, I'm down in Mexico for now, and then hopefully this summer I'll be traveling around the world, spreading the good word of what I do.
Come by Portugal or Spain, one of our homes here.
Absolutely, Portugal is definitely on my list to come back to.
Amazing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your dedication and service to this, you could say, great awakening, or just the commitment you have both to your own inner growth as well as supporting others. It's really beautiful to witness and just see your growth and development through the years, and very grateful to have a friend and brother like you in my life. Yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you as well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Those of you who are just tuning in, you can check out more episodes of Love, Sex, and Leadership. We do some one just about every other week. So find us out on YouTube or Instagram under my name as well, Aaron Kleinerman, the Soul Navigator. Have a beautiful day and see you next time.